Hi, this is Gary and Heath of the Primal Show, and today we're going to talk about a topic that's very close to our heart at the moment, and that is getting your advice from the wrong people. Hey Heath, how's it going?
I'm doing really well, man. Yeah, it's really a shame to see what's going on, taking place out there on the market today, and how much confusion it's causing. This is a subject, definitely dear to my heart because, recently we're coming across people, pushing potatoes, which are a nightshade, uh, plant basically that promotes inflammation within the body. And growing up, I played 13 years of soccer. I played basketball all throughout high school. And before I started eating a paleo kind of primal diet, I actually had bursitis really bad in both my knees. And after doing a little research back in the day, before paleo was really even popular, the number one thing that I had to avoid was potatoes. And if you think about why that is, it's because it promotes inflammation within the body. And I always had eaten potatoes growing up, and as I became more carb resistant, I found myself just not being able to stay lean and cut, and being able to eat potatoes, as well as having inflammation within my knees. But all that ended up going away anyways as I started following a paleo and primal diet. But now that I see these people reintroducing potatoes, pea protein, potato starch, and obviously beans,
And
which are
rice.
high in starch,
Yeah.
and certain types of rice, it's really ridiculous. And for so many reasons. It would be nearly impossible to obtain a lean and kind of cut physique, or be able to maintain or lose weight while integrating that into your diet. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's the problem is they're integrating these food items that we don't necessarily say that, are bad, but they're items, especially in the beginning, you do not want to be consuming as you're trying to lose weight and lean down and get your blood sugar under control. They're very starchy foods, and the whole point is to get you down to the template, the paleo template, and get you within that to get you jump started. We deal with, as a practitioner, I deal with sugar addiction, and obviously any complex carbohydrate it has to be broken down into a simple sugar, just like if you ingested a simple sugar. There's not a big difference as far as how it's absorbed into your bloodstream in the final end product. And yeah, I think people are losing their way, and they're getting rather testy with it too. If you question them on it, as me and you have found out, as we, were in disagreement on legumes, beans with an individual, and took it to, heart, and started attacking us on it and telling us we didn't know anything and throwing all this research, and then they admit that they don't eat beans because they cause them problems. And yet they're
Right.
recommending it to their end user and client. And that's where I think we're going to venture into this topic of really paying attention who you're getting your health advice from. And I think you've got some really good rules to live by.
Right, and I think if you take a look at what these people look like, oftentimes they are extremely puffy or in poor health themselves. I mean, the number one sign of poor health is extreme dark circles under the eyes. You see a lot of puffiness around the arms, or their stomachs aren't flat. And if a person is out there pushing health principles, and they haven't been able to figure out how to have optimal health themselves, and how can they be preaching and dispensing advice to others if they haven't figured out the pieces that it takes to be able to reach their ideal weight or maintain their ideal weight. And if you constantly see people fluctuating in their weight size, or they're maybe too afraid to be in front of video or take pictures because they're afraid of the way they look, then they probably shouldn't be dispensing health advice, especially weight loss advice. I'm all about, creating products that promote optimal health, giving advice that will help somebody reach or maintain their ideal weight. And it's because I strived so hard to figure out what it took in order to look a certain way. And I did it not just to look a certain way, but because I wanted to feel a certain way. I wanted to have energy all day long. I didn't want to have to think about weight anymore. And the principles in which I teach and you teach enable that to happen. And, I mean, you see so many of these people, they're so camera shy. And I think you brought up a good point the other day. If you start Googling pictures of people and the way they look, they're oftentimes huge fluctuations in their weight. They're not practicing what they preach. And, you know,
or they are.
Yeah, well, maybe they are, but, you know, there's no way to look, you know, to really reach optimal health when you're consuming products like pea protein, which is a legume, and it causes inflammation in the body. It's not the easiest thing to digest. And why consume a product like potato starch or potatoes or beans when there's so many other things you can have? I mean, we get to eat like organic nitrate-free bacon. We get to eat grass-fed meat. We get to eat all the fish we want. We can consume, you know, low, like macadamia nuts, which are low and like have almost no phytic acids. They have almost no starch. Hazelnuts, another great one. If you're going to consume something, you know, there's so many things we can consume. Why add these? And it's really because they're preying on the lazy people, that the people that can't just give up that little, you know, potato starch, the last few things. But there's so many other things they could focus on. Why add it in? It just makes no sense to me. It promotes, you know, inflammation, where the paleo and a primal template really is all about anti-inflammatory. Why? There's no need for it.
I agree, and that's what
Don't you agree?
We totally agree on that point, that it is them preying upon the public and placating to them, saying, "Hey, we're going to give you what you want instead of what you need," and they're doing that in a bad place, because they're not doing it to help people; they're doing it to bring more people in to sell products instead of trying to help them. Trying to help them has now gone down the ladder on importance. And that's why me and you get so frustrated with some of them, is it's obvious what they're doing. And I've always recommended going on Google or Yahoo to the person you're following or thinking of following, and go look them up, and images will instantly pop up. And some of the most popular people in our genre right now, if you see their pictures, I guarantee you will not be following them. And that is very important. I've taught this for a long time, especially in the exercise world, because I've been working with clients on the exercise side since my early 20s. And I always told them, never get training advice from someone who is in worse shape than you. Why would you do that? It would be the equivalent of you getting financial advice from someone who's filed bankruptcy three times and can't manage their checkbook.
It's so true. It's so true. And, you know, there's no better. I belong to one of the gyms I go to. You go in there and you look at the trainers. I'm not going to say the gym's name, but this is pretty common in almost all gyms.
Yeah. But
you look at the trainers, and I kid you not, there was overweight trainers training people that were in better shape than the trainer looked. And it's like, what is that person trying to achieve? The person you get, you know, training sessions from should be, you know, they should be how you want to look. They're not going to teach you something above and beyond. They're not going to be able to, you know, you're not going to be able to look a certain way if the trainer that you're getting those training sessions from isn't healthy themselves. And this goes in regards to training and also health tips and advice. It's incredible what goes on. And I just really, I wonder why it is that those people can be employed and be overweight and yet still give training advice. It doesn't make any sense. And I think it's dangerous. I mean, geez.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and that's why some of my rants, I mean, some people have come back on me a few times and said, oh, you know, and you've heard it too, all you care about is, it's all about looks. And I go, no. If you're eating healthy and following the diet properly and getting proper exercise, the aesthetic side of it is just one of the benefits that comes along with it. Health is the priority first. But you look at like Weston A. Price's in his book, the pictures that he took of the the native people, and they look like basically what their bodies are, what our fashion models and athletic models are today. So this isn't something that we just made up out of nowhere. And for these people to come back and go, well, it's not just about looks. It's like, well, no, but you will look good if you're following the principles and you're healthy. They go hand in hand. And for some of these people who you've heard my rants on this too, is everyone thinks they're an expert now. And you can't be an expert by just picking up a paleo book and following the paleo diet for 2 years. You're not now a nutrition and health expert. All you are is a consumer with some knowledge. That is all you are. And I have real heartburn with some of these people who are popping out. And it's not just in paleo in general. This is something I think in American society today, across the board, is you have people telling people how to do things that have no knowledge. That's where you fall off in anything you do in life. Get your knowledge from someone you trust and has experience and knows what they're talking about.
And to that point, I'm a manufacturer of food for, we sell to hundreds of thousands of consumers across the world now. And before I started making these products, I took a test subject, one of my friends, we call him Paleo Nate. I did a whole just trial of implementing my philosophy, my food products, my training that I did for myself. I said, you know what, I want to take somebody else that needs help and run them through what I think will work for the masses. And that's what I did with Paleo Nate. It was a complete trial. I said, hey, you know what, I think what I did for myself, a lot of other people could benefit from. And I proved it. Before I started giving advice out there, I proved it first. And now I get to help hundreds of thousands of people across the world eat and they're consuming foods that now promote optimal health. And optimal health is the first step. And then once you start getting optimal health, the weight loss and everything else starts to fall into place. But it's really about an anti-inflammatory diet and consuming foods that don't cause inflammation. And you can tell these people have gut inflammation that aren't practicing what they're preaching. The number one sign, I think, of good health is a flat stomach, not a six-pack, but just a flat, healthy stomach.
Yeah.
And when you have a flat stomach, what that means is that you've been able to figure out proper gut health. You're consuming the proper amount of probiotics. The foods you eat aren't creating, inflammation within the gut. And it by no means do you have to have a six-pack. And a six-pack, I would say, is the sign of complete optimal health, where your body is in, your metabolism is on point and your diet's on point. It is very hard to have a six-pack, but it is achievable, but it takes work.
Yeah.
And when you see people that don't have a flat stomach, that means that they probably haven't figured out in their own life what it takes in order to have optimal health, or they're not following their own advice, which they're trying to dispense, or they're cheating on what is, they're adding in things that shouldn't be there in their own diet, and yet they want to dispense health advice. And that's the number one thing I look at when I meet someone. I was like, you know what does their gut look like? Because it's hard, if you're not following these principles, to have a flat stomach.
Yep.
I mean, wouldn't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing. Why me and you are talking about this topic, because we unlike the consumer, we see these people in person a lot of people in our genre and a lot of people in our industry. And we see them face to face. We see them at conferences. And I also get to see them eat. I get to see them at night. I get to see some of them pounding at the bar. Who talk about, don't drink beer because it has grains in it. I just watched them pound, 6 beers and do 3 shots. And that's and I'm not, and that's what I mean. I've watched them and, some of these people who bash, you go, oh, supplements are not part of paleo. And then I go to the conference and I watch them and they're eating breakfast and they're pounding supplements with their breakfast, and I'm all. And that's what I mean. I think for me and you, we're not just going after people, and we're not naming names. I don't want to do that only in certain circumstances where I think someone's dangerous. in that I think what they're doing, or they're attacking something or someone that I think they're doing it in a bad way, and it's not fair, then I will go after someone. But it's just to show people that we're around these people. We get to see them, and they will not. Yeah.
It's so true, and it's like I follow a lot of these people on Instagram and stuff like that, and it's like their whole moniker is paleo this and that, right? And then they're posting pictures of like gluten-free pizzas and just gluten-free, and it's like everything that was paleo went out the window. And then you look at the comments around what they're posting, and it's like, well, I guess that person's having a cheat meal, right? And it's obviously confusing their followers, and it's like, you got to practice what you preach, and especially if you have a following. Some of these people have large followings, and I think it's okay to have a cheat meal and everything every now and then, but you need to make sure that it's not all the time. It's not once a day. It's if you are going to cheat, why not cheat with something that has paleo or primal type of ingredients, which still promote optimal health? There's plenty of treats out there that you can have that aren't going to wreck your blood sugar. And are still going to keep you on point, but that tastes just as good as the real thing. I mean, there's so many great recipes out there that can be modified without the sugar. And we talked a little bit before on another episode about, using stevia and xylitol, which is from the birch tree, and using healthy sugars. It isn't a big change, and it doesn't take that much effort.
Well, no, and again, like I said, I think they're just being lazy, and like I said, it's the health industry in general. It's over the decades, get flat abs in just 2 minutes a day, detox from sugar in just 21 short days, and all this stuff that you see. If it sounds very fattish and cliquish like that you can do something really quick. Like I have a 3-day fat blast. I wrote a blog on it, but it's not for you to get ripped in 3 days if you're overweight. It's something that I use as a technique when I got off track. Every once in a while you'll get off track. It's just human nature. And I talk about how I jumpstart my system and get back into fat burning mode. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about losing 50 pounds in 10 days. If you see that, that's a red flag. That's someone trying to give into the human element of the quick fix. And you need to avoid that.
Well, it's so true, and I think there's a couple of different things there. You have your initial cleanse and basically, initial weight loss phase where you're doing everything it takes in order to reach your ideal weight, and then you're into maintenance mode.
Yeah.
And what I don't like, what I see out there is that the confusion is by implementing things like potatoes and legumes when you're trying to reach your ideal weight, it makes it that much harder.
Absolutely.
And there's so many other ingredients and foods you can focus on that you can have in order to reach your optimal weight, that why throw these other elements in there? And I think it's about time that people start focusing on all the things you can have instead of trying to add in things that don't belong there in the first place. Recently, while on Twitter, I came across a moniker that says, "Don't follow the paleo diet, follow your own personal paleo code." And I just thought it was first a real, just an FU to Lauren Cordain to write something like that. And secondly, that's somebody that's wanting to bend what paleo is and the principles and the guidelines to make it more appealing to the masses. And once again, there's no reason to add in, beans and pea protein and things like that, which, pea protein is a big step upward from a lot of proteins, and it has its place. I like to put it more in like the vegan category, but it's not paleo. And, just in order to appeal to the masses, you don't have to add in things that don't belong there in the first place. I think that with paleo, there's plenty of things we can consume that are going to help, get you to your ideal weight, a healthy weight. And, wouldn't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Well, and that whole personal paleo thing, that moniker to me, it sounds great as a buzz moniker, as a buzz kind of title. But in the end, it's very confusing as well, because what is your personal paleo? Well, it's going to take you several years to figure out. And I keep preaching this. This stuff does not happen overnight. If you're in this game to get healthy in 30 days, I'm going to be honest, it's not going to happen. I tell every client who walks in and talks to me, it's 12 to 18 months bare minimum. And from there, it evolves even more. And it takes 2 to 3 years for your body to fully adapt, for you to kind of eliminate a lot of those ailments that you had before, seasonal allergies. This stuff doesn't happen right away. And your personal paleo, okay, how about you call it something else? What makes me so mad is people hijacking the primal and paleo moniker in a program that is not paleo or primal. What they're doing is they're using the name to benefit what they're doing, and they're not teaching the correct principles. And that to me is just nothing but false marketing. It is false advertising. If you want to go that direction, call it something else. And me and Lauren Cordain talked about that in that interview. We said, hey, no problem. If you want to add beans and potatoes into whatever diet you're teaching, fine. But do not call it primal and do not call it paleo. Call it something else. Because think of Atkins, how popular Atkins is and how well known it is. Not that I'm advocating that. This is an example. But it would be like me going and taking Atkins and adding it into my title or the name of my diet or company, and then saying you can eat all the fruit you want, you can eat all the starchy carbs you want, and oh, by the way, I'm going to take out most of the animal protein out of it, but I'm going to call it your own personal Atkins. That is so asinine, it's unbelievable.
Let's call it your Atkins code.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they're doing. And I have a lot of
your Atkins template. You know, it's really sad. You know, and I think it really takes about 90 days to see of really kind of a stringent kind of paleo, where you initially cleanse, you ditch the grains, the dairy, the legumes, and you follow a program. You know, Gary has a variety of different programs on his blog at primalpowermethod.com. I put one together that I follow that changed my body. I lost about 35 pounds. I think that's kind of you can really lose probably about 35 pounds within 90 days, you know, safely, if you are working out 3 to 5 times a week. And you follow, you know, a kind of stricter paleo, and then maybe add some grass-fed cheese if you can tolerate it in after those 90 days. But you know, just it doesn't have to be that hard, and this is just causing more confusion. And I don't know, man. I really hope people can. I like Lauren Cordain being the founder of the paleo diet, and like you said, it's other people trying to alter it, and that are going to cause the confusion and cause people really to take longer than necessary to reach their ideal health or their ideal weight.
Yeah, and we don't say this just to go after a certain group or someone using name. It's because me and you have gone through this same pattern of, when we started changing our life, we were reading all this other information. This was several years ago, obviously. But I got confused as well because people were changing the Weston A. Price model. And they were putting a twist on that. And it screwed me up royally for like 6 months to a year, because I got better, I felt better. And then all of a sudden I started reading all this other information on these other people who supposedly knew it. And I was eating things like a lot of grains, but now they were, you know, organically raised, or they were more heirloom grains, somewhat. And I'd never cut out the things that I should have been cutting out, and it caused me, wreaked all kinds of havoc in my diet and my health. And then I had to go back, and then I went back into a strict paleo template, and you did the same thing. We both had problems here and there where we deviated from the main message because of all the bad information out there. And that's what we're trying to do, is through our experiences help people not have to go through a longer path than necessary, and to make it easy. I mean, you're right. People think they're going to have to eat all these foods that they absolutely hate and they're going to have to struggle. That is totally not the case at all.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? Just to give a couple of tips in terms of, I would say, obtaining a flat stomach. I mean, a couple ones that I always recommend is to cleanse. You know, we sell a product called Sculpt and Cleanse. There's a variety of products. I'm not just pushing that one. I found that one for myself. But the first thing before you start any sort of diet, I feel, is you got to cleanse. And while you're cleansing, you're going to be changing your diet also. Yep. You're going to be removing the grains, the legumes, the dairy, and the junk from your diet. Start cutting out the starch. Get the sugar as low as possible. And find a good probiotic. So maybe you take a cleansing type of pill at night, and then after you cleanse, you want to put some good healthy bacteria back into your stomach. BioK Plus is an excellent probiotic that I recommend, and it's probably one of the best blends out there. They do have a non-dairy version, but at the same time, that it's so filled with good bacteria that consuming the yogurt that it has is really good for you. So, that being said, they also make non-dairy forms.
Well, that's the thing that I think people are going to find different from us. We both sell supplement products, and I sell, a fish oil. I sell probiotic. But me and you I recommend different products to people all the time. This isn't just about our products. And then people
I don't even sell
that's what I mean.
Plus.
That's what I mean. And I think that's what people are learning from us, is that we're not here just to sell you stuff. We know the products pretty well. We can't know them all. But I refer people to products that I know are good that they can get in their area that day if they want them. You don't have to come to me or you and buy our products. We appreciate it if you do. But that's not what it's all about. There's multiple ways to do it. There's multiple products, but we're trying to educate you on the best ones that fit into your lifestyle, pocketbook, what have you.
Right, exactly. And I think if you're cleansing, you're putting in the good bacteria, and then you're able to strengthen your core. There's a real, an ab wheel is an excellent way to strengthen your core and to really flatten your stomach.
And ab wheels have been around forever.
It's so primitive, but it works so well, and it's so easy.
Yeah.
It's something you can do at home. You can take with you when you travel. But there's so many things like this we're going to be discussing in future shows. I'm really glad we were able to talk about some of these issues that are going on with the paleo confusion, and just like we said, just pay attention to who you're getting the advice from. All we really want to do is promote optimal health on this show. We want to give tips that we found that worked in our own lives and worked for people that we were able to tell our tips to. So make sure you email us both at Gary@theprimalshow.com or Heath@theprimalshow.com. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Each time we launch a video, it will email you. And check us out at youtube.com/theprimalshow.
Absolutely. And there will be many more shows like this. And we are here just to educate and help people. And we never discuss anything that we don't know or have tried ourselves or used with other people, especially me with clients. So that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Thanks for watching, and hit the subscribe button now.